get into the story about Jamaal Bowman. Like I said, he was confronted again by Jose and his friends. And I think Jamaal Bowman says some things here that are very revealing, and you should be concerned. I'm going to let it play the entire way through first, and then I'll come back and I'll chime in because I want you to hear what's said. And thank you to Jose for adding text to this as well. Here we go.
Yes, question.
Yes. Well, first I wanted to say thank you for championing asthma, which is a problem that I combat quite a bit as a constituent in the Bronx. And I wanted to address the problem that we have with infrastructure. For instance, as you know, tragically, East Palestine right now is being destroyed. It's poisoned. Flint is not fixed. Jackson, Mississippi is not yet fixed. The Bronx has a huge amount of infrastructure problems. And yet, we spend over $4 billion in aid to Israel every year. As other people may not know, Amnesty International and other human rights groups have testified that Israel is currently involved with ethnic cleansing and genocide. Very recently, there was a pogrom with attacks in civil camps. Palestinians were killed, injured, houses were burned. Are you willing to stand for it? And I speak as a member of the Jewish community. Are you willing to stand up and say that we should remove all aid from Israel and turn that back to the United States, where it's needed now and where we will not be funding human rights violations?
Well, it's something that I have spoken to before. I'm going to have some other things to say on the subject real soon.
Because we need the funds here, and we should not be funding war crimes, which Israel
We should not.
Which Israel and its increasingly right-wing government is ever more guilty of.
Yes. So thank you for the question. You are. Because the other side is very organized, very well resourced. For what?
Right now, it's not live.
Listen to what I'm saying. You just want to say what you want to say. Listen to what I'm saying, please.
We need the dialogue.
Oh, you know, listen. You asked me a question, I answered it. Now I'm giving you some feedback, some advice. If you want it or not, you don't have to take it. Okay? I'm in Congress every day. Okay? I see the power of the other side. We don't have that power. When I make a stand, when I take a stand by myself, me and the squad, there's no one else in Congress with us, and there's not many people outside with us.
Are you squad really?
Hold on, stop looking to be super critical and listen to what I'm saying. We gotta organize the people here to speak out on the issue and push elected officials here to speak out on that issue. And that's what we have to do.
We need to make a stand. What did you vote to get on there?
Time out. Because I'm trying to be strategic and play the long game.
Strategic on human rights.
You know, listen.
The people that are being massacred by Israel cannot wait.
Do you even know what I've done since I've been in Congress on this issue? Do you know anything I've done since I've been in Congress? What have I done? What have I done since I've been in Congress on this issue?
What does that have to do with what you did now?
What have I done since I've been in Congress on this issue specifically?
I'm here.
Y'all don't know? So you look for what I didn't do, but you don't look for what I've done. What's the minimum standard?
The minimum standard is voting no on the
Do you know Betty McCollum's bill that she introduced in 2020?
Doesn't matter. Were you incapable of...
Come on, man. All right, listen.
Why were you willing to vote yes on the $100?
That's one vote and one time.
That is a huge vote.
What about the other stuff that's been done?
People are being massacred.
What about the other stuff that's been done and what I've said?
Does that affect...
You don't even know. You can't even point to my record.
I can point to the record that I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you just point on one thing. I can give you five other things I've done.
Yes, that's a crucial thing.
I can give you five other things I've actually done.
Are you going to stand against removing all Israel aid?
Yeah, just go. Good to me.
I'll assume that's a no. Yes, I did.
Okay, let's break this down.
Yes, question.
Yes. Well, first I wanted to say thank you for championing asthma, which is a problem that I combat quite a bit as a constituent in the Bronx. And I wanted to address the problem that we have with infrastructure. For instance,
notice the very first thing that she does is she thanks him first. So when you hear him say later on, you're not acknowledging what I've done, you're only talking about what I haven't done. Notice the very first thing that she says to him is she thanks him first. Remember that. Let's go on.
as you know, tragically, East Palestine right now is being destroyed. It's poisoned. Flint is not fixed. Jackson, Mississippi is not yet fixed. The Bronx has a huge amount of infrastructure problems. And yet, we spend over $4 billion in aid to Israel every year. As other people may not know, Amnesty International and other human rights groups have testified that Israel is currently involved with ethnic cleansing and genocide.
This is where he starts to get uncomfortable. This piece right here, the ethnic cleansing and genocide.
Very recently, there was a pogrom with attacks in several camps. Palestinians were killed, injured, houses were burned. Are you willing to stand for it? And I speak as a member of the Jewish community. Are you willing to stand up and say that we should remove all aid from Israel and turn that back to the United States, where it's needed now and where we will not be funding human rights violations?
Yeah. Well, it's something that I have spoken to before. I'm going to have some other things to say on the subject real soon.
When? Because that's what I want to know. He said he's spoken on it before. When did he speak on it before? When did he speak on it before? You have to remember, Jamaal Bowman got in trouble by DSA. Well, I guess not really got in trouble, but was called out by Democratic Socialists of America because he took that trip to Israel. So when did he speak on it? Remember, one of the principles of DSA is to support the rights of the Palestinian people. So when Jamaal Bowman made that trip to Israel, DSA wrote an entire article. There was an entire article written about it. They were not happy about that. So what is he talking about? Let's go on.
Because we need the funds here, and we should not be funding war crimes, which Israel
We should not.
Which Israel and its increasingly right-wing government is ever more guilty of.
And the right-wing government that the U.S. government, certain U.S. politicians have no problem supporting. And Jamaal Bowman knows this.
Yes. So thank you for the question. You are. Because the other side is very organized.
So this piece right here is in the hallway. And this is where he's going to ask him, is this live? You see, because it's getting to the point where he doesn't like being filmed. He doesn't like this happening. Let's go on.
Very well resourced for what?
Right now, it's not live.
So he asked him to remove basically take the camera off of him. So that's why the camera moves to the floor. He didn't want to be filmed.
Listen to what I'm saying. You just want to say what you want to say. Listen to what I'm saying, please.
You need the dialogue.
Oh, you know, listen. You asked me a question, I answered. Now I'm giving you some feedback, some advice. If you want it or not, you don't have to take it.
I'm about to give you some feedback, some advice. You see how cocky they are now? You see how cocky certain members of the squad are now? You don't have to take it okay.
Okay? I'm in Congress every day. Okay? I see the power of the other side.
Pause. You are not in Congress every day. You guys aren't even in session on the weekend. So let's not exaggerate. And then two, I see the power of the other side. This is when he's talking about either the corporate Democrats or the GOP. He's going to go on to say that they, meaning the squad, don't have that power, which is BS. Based on their numbers, they did. When the Democratic Party had the House, they did. They had the numbers to force a vote for Medicare for all, for anything for that matter. They had the numbers because they had that narrow majority, which is exactly what we saw the Freedom Caucus do. They did what the squad was supposed to do. So when you hear them make this claim, because I've seen other squad members saying this as well, when they say that they don't have the numbers, that they don't have any power or whatever, because it's just a small amount of them, that is BS. They had enough numbers to have a narrow majority to get what they wanted. They got what they wanted for themselves. They got committee assignments. That's something for them. Let's go on. This isn't the worst part.
We don't have that power.
Lies.
When I make a stand, when I take a stand by myself, me and the squad, there's no one else in Congress with us, and there's not many people outside with us.
He said, this is a lie. Listen to this. He said, there's no one else in Congress with us. He's talking about the squad. And he said, there's no one outside with us. No, you guys weren't outside with us. Because when we had the marches for Medicare for all, you guys were the ones who didn't show up. The only one who showed was Cori Bush, and she shit on the event. It's the other way around. Okay. So when we organize, just like with Amazon, when AOC told Chris Small she was going to be there and she did not show, the organizing on the outside is happening. They're the ones who are not showing up to back the organizers. That's the problem. And when you see these massive protests that are happening in Europe right now, we're going to talk about France on Sunday. When you see these massive protests, this was something I did ask Claire Daly about. She made it very clear to me. The reason why they are able to do it is because the politicians that they have on the inside, they support the movements on the outside. And we don't have that. So Jamaal Bowman is basically trying to make himself sound like a victim instead of owning up to the fact that they haven't been doing their part. The organizers have still been doing their part.
Hold on. Stop looking to be super critical and listen to what I'm saying.
You see the attitude, the temper? Stop looking to be super critical and listen to what I'm saying. How dare you criticize me? You see the cockiness? They work for the people, right? How dare you criticize them? How dare you critique them? They're public officials. You can criticize them. He don't like it. See, they don't like being criticized. They don't like being critiqued. Newsflash, everyone is criticized. Everyone. You have a job, or you have a review, an annual review every year, that's a critique. They're going to tell you good things you're doing. They're going to tell you bad things you're doing or things you need to improve on. Everyone is criticized. Everyone is critiqued. And if you are a politician, you are definitely going to be critiqued.
We got to organize the people here to speak out on the issue and push elected officials here.
That's what they're doing right now. So he says, we got to organize the people here to push the elected officials to speak on that issue. Isn't that what she's doing right now to you, Jamal? All of these confrontations, that's exactly what they've been doing. Confronting Jamaal Bowman, confronting AOC, confronting Rashida Tlaib. That's what they're doing. But see, what they don't like, they want you to do it a certain way, you know. They want you to be nice about it. They want a nice protest. They want a nice rally. That's the problem. See, they say this. They say protests are supposed to disrupt. AOC said that. But they don't want you to do it to them. Organize the people on the outside. I'm focusing on that line because AOC said that exact same thing to Afeni when they had the eviction moratorium protests at the Capitol. We have to organize the people on the outside. Why aren't you there? When all of these events, all of these rallies, all this protesting and stuff that's going on, why are you not there? The people been organizing. Where were you? When there was a police brutality protest outside of the Met Gala that AOC was in, showing off her tax the rich dress, where was AOC? She wasn't out on the street with the people who were protesting. She wasn't out on the street with the organizers. She was inside with the rich people. So the organizing has been going on. They just don't participate. So Jamaal Bowman is gaslighting her right now. This is BS. Let's go on.
Here to speak out on that issue.
And
That's what we have to do.
We need to make a stand. What did you vote that you did on the Iron Dome?
So she's asking him, why did he vote for the Iron Dome? See, he don't like this. They don't like it when you bring up their votes.
Because I'm trying to be strategic and play the long game.
That part right there. This is the part I wanted everybody to hear. That is Jamaal Bowman on record saying he's trying to be strategic and play the long game. Well, then, Jamaal Bowman, if you are trying to play the long game, why did you run as a Justice Democrat? Why did you? Were you a fraud from the beginning? Because everyone who knows the Justice Democrat, you know that was not a part of the strategy. The strategy was to do the opposite, to go in there and have a hostile takeover. This is why they don't force no votes. So now you heard it, folks. Share this with your friends. That is Jamaal Bowman letting you know he's playing the long game. And you know what that means? That means he's looking out for his political career. That means he's not going to try to fight for anything that's really going to help us, anything that puts him in an uncomfortable position that could affect or jeopardize his political career. He is not going to do that. He's playing the long game. She asked you a question about why did you vote to fund the Iron Dome? His response is, I'm playing a long game. On human rights issues? While Palestinian people are continuing to die? Pushed out of their homes? That's a long game, Jamal. So he okay with playing a long game on human rights issues. They didn't force the vote for Medicare for all because they playing the long game. You can apply it to everything, guys. Every way that they voted, you can apply what he just said. Yes, Douglas, long game equals money. 100%. Everybody see it?
Human rights.
Listen.
The people that are being massacred by Israel cannot wait.
Do you even know what I've done since I've been in Congress on this?
Now he's deflecting. She said the people that are, being killed in Israel can't afford to wait. His response is, do you know what I've done since I've been in Congress? By the way, he never tells her what he did. Time to deflect. Because he don't want to respond to that. Makes you look kind of crappy. You're playing the long game while people are dying.
Issue Do you know anything I've done since I've been in Congress? What have I done? What have I done since I've been in Congress?
What does that have to do with what you did now?
What have I done since I've been in Congress on this
What
issue
have you done?
specifically? I mean, I'm here. Y'all don't know. So you look for what I didn't do, but you don't look for what I've done.
Now he's trying to put the blame back on them. He said, you guys don't know what I've done? You know what I didn't do, but you don't know what I've done. Because you haven't done anything, Jamal. I couldn't be there. I told you, least effective member of the squad is Jamaal Bowman. We point out the things you didn't do because you haven't done anything that's really helped the people. So he's getting defensive. Let's remember, not supporting the railroad workers to go on strike. That was Jamaal Bowman. Add him into that list too. Hot mess.
So what's the minimum standard?
The minimum standard is voting no on
Do you know
the
Betty
iron dome.
McCollum's bill that she introduced in 2020?
Now you're bringing up people that are not a part of this conversation. He's bringing up someone else's bill. Someone else's bill.
Doesn't matter. Were you incapable of...
Come on, man. All right. Listen,
why were you willing to vote yes on the iron
that's
dome?
one vote in one
That
time.
is a huge...
See? There you go. Why did you vote yes on the Iron Dome? That's one vote, one time. This is what he really thinks. One vote, one time. So in his eyes, it's not important. In his eyes, it doesn't really matter much because it was just one vote.
What about the other stuff that's been done?
People are being massacred.
What about the other stuff that's been done and what I...
She's telling him that people are being massacred. And he's like, what about the other stuff that's been done and what I've said? But he never says what he's done. You know, screw it. Forget that people are dying. He doesn't even care. He don't care. He got a comfortable seat.
said,
Does that affect...
you don't even know. You can't even point to my record. Come on.
Now he's trying to play the blame game again. You don't know. You can't even point to my record. So he's trying to put the fault back on them. This is what people do. This is a common defense mechanism, by the way. People will do this when you're pressing them on something and they don't want to answer the question. Then they'll get defensive. And what they'll do is that they'll start to point out what they consider to be your faults so that they don't have to focus on their own. Common defense mechanism.
To the record that I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you just point on one thing. I can give you five other things I've done.
That's a crucial thing.
I can give you five other things I've actually done.
But he never does. I can tell you five other things I've done, but he never does.
Going to stand against removing all Israel aid?
Jake, look at me.
I'll assume that's a no.
He ain't gonna vote against his own interest. If you look up Jamaal Bowman's donors, he's another one that's supported by J Street. So I did. Now he has been pressed before. I actually did not know about this interview until recently, but Mark Lamont actually was able to get an interview with Jamaal Bowman. I think I'm going to get to that part where it says Democrats in Congress. Yeah, right there. Listen to this. This was 4 months ago. I never knew this interview happened.
Let me pause you because you just said something that's super interesting to me, because you started by saying, look, we're a big tent. Basically, anybody who's not a Republican is going to be on our side. And so we have to appeal to different ideological camps, different interests, different politics. I get that. But some of this isn't about different ideology. Some of this is about what you just started to allude to, which is special interests, corporate interests, also just flat out careerism and opportunism. Help me understand why Republicans are able to speak in a single voice, even though they have ideological diversity. But when it comes to Democrats, outside of the big tent argument, Why is it so hard for you all to come together on things that it seems like voters are sending you to Congress to fight for?
Yeah, I think too many Democrats have compromised themselves to the corporate interests and the corporate lobby. And many of them have come to Congress and gotten rich and or wealthy and work with wealthy lobbyists to make sure they remain in Congress and fight for policy that support the wealthy in lieu of or but doesn't support working class people. We saw that from Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema, and many members in the House as well continue to acquiesce to the corporate agenda in Congress. And that's part of the problem.
Do you feel like you're getting a greater consensus for the type of work you do? We see the Working Families Party, we see DSA, we see all these organizations sort of expanding representation in Congress, but we also see significant pushback to that. How are you feeling about the actual political direction of the Congress, or specifically Democrats in the Congress?
And those organizations that Mark just mentioned are whack. I can't even put it nicer than that. Those organizations that Mark just mentioned, DSA and Working Family Party, are whack. Working Families Party it's the Democratic Party. It's not like this separate party. It's a party of Democrats in the Democratic Party. So we need to be very clear about that. We all know what's happened to DSA. They've completely fallen apart. This is why they can't keep members. They lost over 10,000 members this year. So those organizations don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, we have other progressives who are going to be coming to Congress this cycle, but not just in Congress. I mean, we saw historic races being won at the state level as well. Governor of Massachusetts is one example of that. So we need to keep organizing to win congressional seats, as well as state, county, and municipal seats, and even school boards, man, because school boards are still implementing education policy that is harmful to Black and brown kids in school districts across the country.
Earlier, you talked about Democratic Senators Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. And one of the key spaces where they have absolutely been at odds with at least the heart of the Democratic Party is immigration reform. Immigration has been a priority issue for Democrats. At least you've expressed that it is.
We can skip that part and go to this part right here, the Democratic Party.
I look on the Republican side, I see DeSantis, I see Nikki Haley, I see other folk who might be the heir apparent or, who are at least in the conversation. On the other side, I don't see anybody right now who is next in line after President Biden. Biden was elected not because he was the most dazzling or energizing candidate, but because voters quite pragmatically said that person can beat Trump, right? Right now, he's polling around 42%, which is, not unusual during a midterm. But the question is, who else is there? Who else can? Kamala Harris is polling lower than that. And out in the congressional landscape and in governor's houses around the country, I don't see anybody who seems poised to be next in line. Does that worry you? Are you worried about the future of the Democratic Party, particularly as it pertains to the White House?
So I see a deep bench for the Democratic Party. Everyone from Elizabeth Warren to Gavin Newsom to the governor of Michigan to myself to AOC to Ayanna Pressley.
Look at who he mentioned first. Elizabeth Warren, and then he says Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is corporate. Why would you even mention him? You guys see what's happening here? Out of all the people, he said he sees himself. This is what it's all about for him. Political career. You see where this is going? This is what I'm trying to show you. This is a revealing moment, I think, for Jamaal Bowman. He sees himself. So that lets you know what his political aspirations are. That's why he's aligning himself with people like Hakeem Jeffries. They're all buddy now. That's why he's aligned himself with people like him. That's why he said to Joe Biden during that last State of the Union address, not the one this year, but last year. That's why he said to Joe Biden, I'm trying to be like you, because that's exactly what he's trying to do. So when he tells you that he's playing the long game, that's the long game. I don't even know what to say. You see what I'm saying? It's just all about their political career. All the people he mentioned, Gavin Newsom. Really? Danny said he just snubbed Rokana. Oh my gosh. I. Thank you for the super chat, Hobbs. AOC didn't fully pay for her dress. Also, we apparently owe $500 trillion to China. I heard a little bit about the dress earlier today. CJ was talking about that. Rosanna Friend says, Sabby, I would love for you to be there and face people like Bowman. Because it's one of those things, like, she wasn't even yelling at him. And he got defensive quickly. He's playing the long game. Ay.